Welcome to Backstage with Richard Ridge. My guest has spent the past 20 years appearing on Broadway in such shows as Once on This Island, After Midnight, Sunset Boulevard, Chicago, Follies, Kiss Me Kate, and Sister Act, to name just a few. He is the co-founder of the Black Theater Coalition, and he will return to Feinstein's 54 Below on July 24th with his brand new show, That Sunday, That Summer at 7 p.m. And he has just taken over the role of Hermes in the hit musical Hadestown. Please say hello to T. Oliver Reid.
Hello. It never gets old hearing that, just taking over the role of Hermes.
Well, I was going to say, this is a big deal. First of all, how are you and where are you? I feel like you're sitting in a closet. Where are you?
I am great. I am sitting in my dressing room at the Walter Kerr Theater right now. Yes.
Nice colors. Wow.
It's like this charcoal gray, and they're like, "What color do you want to paint?" And I was like, "That's the color I want to paint." And as I am sitting here, and I realized that I put on a black T-shirt with this dark gray wall, it does look like I'm in a cave or something. But yeah, I'm sitting in my dressing room right now.
Oh no, because it looks like when you open, like you're in a beautiful, like a 10-star hotel, and you open up the closet to the closet where you hang stuff. And I said, that's why I meant, oh, you're sitting in front of a closet.
Yes.
But
there is a chaise that's back there that has some pillows and clothes that are hanging, and then you come around normal backstage, normal stuff. But yeah.
But now you're back into your 10-star hotel dressing room.
I'm back into my 10-star hotel dressing room, yes.
Okay, so you have just taken over the role of Hermes in Hadestown. How exciting is that?
I have to tell you, I cannot say how exciting it is. It's been amazing. It's one of those things for me, again, I've been in this business for a long time, and I don't know if it's that there's been so much conversation over the past months of what swings and understudies do and all those things, but it's been great to be able to take over this role and not just stand by for it, not be an understudy for it, and do a lot of what the person who's in the role does every night, but to really be able to like sort of strip it away and find my own version of Hermes. So it's been great.
All right, we're going to get into what standbys and understudies do, but first of all, I mean, where did your history with Hadestown begin?
It's so funny because I know Chris Sullivan. We worked together years ago, so Chris had done the New York Theater Workshop version of the show as Hermes. So I had listened to that recording. I mean, I don't know how many times I had listened to it, just sort of on repeat forever. And then several years ago, I guess it was 2018, I did a workshop of Lempicka with Rachel Chafkin. And it was during that workshop that all the news came out that Hadestown was coming from the West End and going to open on Broadway. And I was like, oh, I should audition for that show. And it was sort of thinking about that and just sort of what made sense in my head for what I could or wanted to do in the show. It all worked out, I think, in the way that I initially planned, or as Andre de Schultz would say, the universe is conspiring with you. The universe and I planned what needed to happen for me for those early days. But I was not a part of the show until they started rehearsals for the Broadway production in February of was that 2019? Of 2019, yeah.
So what's it like living in the world of Hadestown? It's such a beautiful musical. It's such a beautiful world. What is that world like to live in?
Honestly, I feel like there's definitely nothing like it that I've done on Broadway. I think it's also, partially because there are these three intertwining stories: the story of Hades and Persephone, the story of Eurydice and Orpheus, and then of course of Hermes, that we all know from probably elementary school or middle school. And to be able to spend so much time in those, and to have this literal poetry that Aeneas Mitchell has written for the show, and to hear those words nightly, and to see where we are as humanity, and the things that she's written and how they fit in daily to where we are. Especially, we by the time we raise our cups at the end of the show and talking about again how we will move on from here, how we will progress, who we will be after these moments. And looking at Ukraine, and for a while we had blue and yellow uh, coverings on our cups at the end of the show to show our support of Ukraine and this war. And then we've had the moments with Uvalde and all these things. So every moment has been connected in some way. So it doesn't feel like, oh, it's just this show about this. It's like it is this show that is about these five individuals, but everything that's being said is truly about who we are as humanity, who we are walking through New York daily, and who we want to be.
Yeah. What do you remember about your magical opening night as Hermes when he became yours? What do you remember about?
I have to. I think like the absolute sort of like just sigh of relief, because it feels like I've been in rehearsals for it for 3 years, because I've gotten to I've been in the show and watched Andre and gone on, but it really was sort of in the 2 weeks from when Andre left to when I officially took over, of saying to myself, like, okay, you don't have to do that, because that is absolutely an Andreism, and then finding those things are like, that's an Andreism, but it absolutely works. So there's no reason to change it. So they're just finding all those things, and I think honestly, this just the relief of the end of the show when I walk out for the bow, and the audience is screaming, and they absolutely are. They're screaming for me in that moment. It's like, that's great. But there've just been so many of those, like, seeing my name actually on, outside of the theater, seeing the picture outside the theater. All these things are like, oh, I wasn't expecting to feel this way about all of these things that are a part of being officially being a Broadway star, being a principal in a Broadway show. Yeah,
That's amazing. But I'm sure that first bow was like, oh my gosh, I made him my own.
yes, and I'm continuing to, which is great. And having Rachel come back and see this show, and it's like, yeah, and things that again, that there's a different life being breathed into this Hermes. So it's great.
Why do you think audiences have fallen in love with this musical all around the world, and people fly to New York to see it? What is that connection? What does it mean to you?
I mean, it is. I mean, and here's the thing. My two great nieces and my niece came and saw the show, and it was one of those things like, I think they'll like it. They saw this, and they saw Hamilton the same weekend, and I'm not going to say it. It may have been because I'm in this show, but they were all like, we liked Hadestown much better than we liked the other show. I shall not mention its name again. But it was that thing. Is like, I think there's something about the music that although it is Broadway and it's theatrical, it feels like it spills into in areas of our lives that are sort of that pop thing, or that world of, because again, the feeling of the music has a little bit of jazz, a little bit of bluegrass, all of these influences of Aeneas's. I think that has a large part to do with it. I think there's something about the story and the everyday quality of the workers that people really relate to, and it takes you on a journey before you realize you're on a journey. It still gets me. There's some nights by the time we get to the end of the show, and we know the story of Orpheus and Eurydice. We know what's going to happen, and still, when he turns around, there are people in the audience. It's like they've never heard it, never seen it, have no idea, and you can feel the brokenness from the stage. I mean, there have been a couple days that there's one night that someone literally screamed out, "Idiot!" And we're all on stage. I'm like, okay, so clearly they were truly invested in the moments. But yeah, there feels like there's an otherworldly quality to this show that truly has taken us by storm and taken our audiences by storm as well.
Yeah. Talking about swings and understudies, they continue to save Broadway. On March 9th of this year, did you step into the role of Auntie Fate in Hadestown and save the day?
Yeah, it was because we had our 10-day shutdown right around the Christmas holidays, where literally the cast was dropping like flies from Omicron, and so we got through that. We got to March, and we thought we were fine, and then we had another sort of run through portions of the cast, and it was a Tuesday night. We knew that we were going to do a show with only 4 workers because of where we were and who was out, etc. Great. So I go home as dance captain, and I've worked through making sure that every moment has been covered for a show with 4 workers. I wake up Wednesday morning. I'm like, I'm gonna go to the gym, clear my head. I get to the gym, get a text from our stage manager, 3 workers. So what worked for 4 workers does not work for 3. I was supposed to be on for Hermes that day, so going through and it's like in middle of conversations is like, okay, so it doesn't make sense for you to go on for Hermes because if you do that, if you go on for a worker and not for Hermes, at least if something goes wrong, you can help fix it. So before the matinee, literally restructured a show with 3 workers, changing numbers, adding fates in the places they weren't supposed to be. Got to the end of the show with restaging. It was like 1:20. We're like, great, we're gonna make it. Stage management comes over to me, says this person's leaving the building, which means that they had tested positive for COVID, which means we were not doing a Wednesday matinee because we didn't have enough people. And throughout the whole rehearsal process and everything, because I'm dance captain and sing all the parts, it's like I can sing those fates and I can do them. So it was always the funny thing. Oh, at some point, Side Pony, which was my before anti fate name, and then that Wednesday it was like, I guess we should probably sit down and actually sing through this music because I think I know it, but we should just make sure that we can. And so as soon as we did that, then Nanette, our wardrobe supervisor, ran out to Macy's, got a couple dresses. After we finished singing through, Kevin and I, our wig and makeup supervisor, went over to Alcone and got a bunch of makeup. And then I looked at them, I was like, am I supposed to shave? And they're like, no. So full beard and mustache, full eye makeup, and we made that Wednesday evening show happen.
That must have been, I know people who were there. I mean, they said it was just mind blowing to be in the theater and watch how incredible the show was with the amount of people that were in there and the magic you all made.
Yeah. Well, thank them for us. And I was like, it really was that moment. Also, it's like I hadn't thought much about it. I mean, it's like again, it's like this is what we do. We're gonna make the show happen. But me walking across the stage at the top of the show that night, literally, it felt like I could see people's mouths sort of jaws slacked. And it was that moment. It's like, oh, I honestly felt like there were people who were finally feeling like they were being seen and that there was a place for them that maybe they hadn't considered before. And since that time, Tomas Matos, who was a swing here, many people know him from the Fire Island movie. He also went on for a fate. And then this weekend on the tour, Will Mann, all 6'1" of him, went on for a fate on the tour. Because I mean, you know this. I mean, it's like every show is still reeling and going through COVID COVID cases. I mean, it's kind of crazy that we're still in that place that it's shutting down shows or making for wildly different shows and audiences getting. There was a time I think on Broadway that an audience would maybe come in and they get something different than other people had gotten. It feels like now it's like every other night you may get a different kind of show. So. Yeah.
It's exciting all at the same time. Seriously, yeah. It's really, that's what live theater does.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So you're also getting ready to return to Feinstein's 54 Below on July 24th at 7 p.m. I love the title of your show. That Sunday, that summer. What can you tell us about this new show?
Well, this show is truly the idea of just these love songs in this balmy weather, and I got that name because for a while I was listening to a lot of Nat King Cole, and there's one song that he sings with this chorale behind him. And it's That Sunday, That Summer, and I kept thinking like, what is that? What does that Sunday feel like in the middle of a summer? And for me, like it many times is like the idea of like. Dusk on Fire Island or whatever those things are, and it has all that. But I wanted it to be about love songs and not just those songs that we're used to. For those of us who are in, long-term committed relationships, it really is like, what does it mean? What does their love song mean when the two of you are not talking to each other, or that you're angry, or you're upset, or you're stomping through the apartment or slamming doors? All of those things, like all of those parts for me, want to be a part of a love story, so that those who are early on in relationships or who are aspiring to relationships, they don't get that sort of false idea that relationships are always perfect. Two people who grew up in two different households or two different mothers are going to have two different ideas on a lot of things, but to know that it's a part of the journey. Those happy days are as much a part of the journey as those days that are less happy. So to have all of those songs in it, I think Alan and Marilyn Bergman do the best job. I mean, just that writing those lyrics, when you really listen to them, it's like there was some stuff going down with them sometimes. It's not just all that. It's beautiful, but it's beautiful, and there is strife, and is a little sadness as well as the love. So I wanted to make sure that this show really sort of encompasses all those things.
So who are some of the other composers and maybe a song or two? Like, what are you doing?
Let's see. There is a lot. Well, Rogers and Hart, of course. There is blah, 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 blah. Who else? The Bergmans. There's Mike Reid. There is. I could bring up the song list because that would make it easier for me as well. Why did I just little things like that? Because this brain is sometimes a little messy. Where How do I get to? I'm like I don't know how to get to. There they are.
Yeah.
Uh
You're good that you can multitask during an interview. That's why
I don't
you're.
listen. I apparently have no choice in the matter to be able to multitask through my entire life. And now, of course, nothing wants to work. So I'm pulling up the iPad because why not? One second.
I love it.
But like the Nearness of You is one of my favorite songs, so that is in there. We're looking at Hoagie Carmichael, Harold Arlen with Let's Fall in Love. Spring Can Really Hang You Up the Most. Cole Porter, of course. The Gershwins, Alan and Marilyn Bergman. There's a little Sarah Bareilles, a little John Legend. It's a good mix of a lot of standard golden age theater as well as some things that are a bit newer. Because for me, it's always about how do I bring in what I like to consider as sort of this new chapter of the American songbook, which is for me is it's the Dolly Partons, it's the Sarah Bareilles, it's all of those whose songs we all sing and we remake and we have standardized in a way that we also have with the Cole Porters and the Rogers and Harts and etc. So that those as much as possible to try and really bring those as many worlds together as possible.
No, I love when you also talked about love because I've been in a relationship with my husband for 45 years, and it's like you said,
oh my God,
love is messy. Yeah, how many are you?
We are at 12 years, and it's funny. A couple weeks ago I had lunch with a different David Mixner, and we were talking about the 12 years, and he was saying it's very interesting because with couples it's 7 years, 12 years, 21 years where you have the biggest how are we getting through this? But I mean it is that thing. It's like, or I mean I think for us we decided early on it's like we're going to be together no matter what. So whatever we have to deal with, whatever we go through, however we are growing, we want to make sure that we are growing together, or we at least having conversations about how we're growing and how we're able to stay together with that. But yeah, it's work. It's work. There are days that it's like I'm gonna go sleep on the sofa because I don't think that we can sleep in the same bed and us both be happy about it, and that's fine. But there are those moments, and it's about getting through those moments. It's about working through those moments. It's about understanding that we both have feelings and may not share the same ideas on things, and all that's okay.
I love that though. Like I said, I want to come and see this show because it seems like it's about relationships, and I think that's really fascinating. I know a portion of the proceeds from this evening will benefit the Black Theater Coalition's fellowship program. You, of course, are one of the co-founders of the Black Theater Coalition. And before we get into the fellowship, what did it mean to you to start this, and how can people get involved?
I have to say, it was one of those. Warren Adams, my co-founder, and I, we started having conversations around the passing of one of our mutual friends, Eric LaJuan Summers. So that's how Warren and we knew each other, but we didn't know each other. So we started having what he likes to call coffee dates. And I had this initial idea of a series to do, and we started looking at that and looking at a 3 and a 5 year plan for those, and how we could shine light on those Black professionals who are working in the business. And we realized that if we were working on the path that we would have to do what is being done already on Broadway, which is sort of recycling the same few people over and over. And we wanted to make sure there was space and opportunity for more people. So with that, we started looking at how we get more people in the door. And around that time, then comes COVID. and shuts us down. We're like, oh, we have plenty of time now to really look at some more ideas because neither of us is working. And then comes the death of George Floyd. It's like, oh, we have to take a serious look at what this industry is doing and how we can be of use and of help to help re-steer the ship and make some change. So first, I mean, I think our initial goal was to just kind of get our feet wet when making some changes, making some calls to people we knew and seeing if they wanted to help. And over the past 18 months, it definitely it steamrolled to much more. And by much more, I mean all the things that needed to happen. Just they weren't all the things that we thought we were going to take on at the beginning. I think it's that things like every once in a while you see someone, you hear a story of a family who adopts 8 kids, and it's like we only thought we were going to do one, but then we saw this full family of kids, and we knew we couldn't part them. And it was a bit of that in these first year or so of we have to do this too, and we need to address this too. So yeah, it has definitely been a little more than I think we anticipated, but I also know that again, I go back to Andre de Shields and the universe is conspiring with me, and that we are absolutely the people who needed to be a part of this lift. So it's been great. It has definitely been a lot of work. It is eye-opening in the best possible way, and also the way of some people aren't ready yet, but we know that we have lots of partners, lots of accomplices who want to see the industry continue. And I think that's the most important thing is like we have to open ourselves up to hearing stories of all people. So although Black Theater Coalition is clearly about Black professionals, we want to make sure that there are stories being told by our Latin brothers and sisters, by our trans brothers and sisters, by our Asian brothers and sisters, so that we really are showing everything, and that we are able to include humanity in the shows, which means that the people who are walking into the theater are a little more diverse than we saw before, and the stories that they're seeing when they walk in are a lot more diverse than we saw before shutdown.
So some of the proceeds are going to the fellowship program. Is that something new that you started with the coalition?
Yes, so the fellowship, the Broadway fellowship, are all young people, career transitioning people who want to work in this industry. So whether they are working in the general management offices of Bespoke, Foresight, 321 RCI, 101 Thompson Turner, I don't want to leave anyone out, Showtown, or working with producers as producing fellows, etc. It's about making sure that any funding that we still are lacking through our partners and accomplices, that they're being, any of their needs are being covered. So each of the fellows right now receives a $50,000 stipend so that they actually can live and work in this industry. Because the thing we realized was so many people who were doing internships were working 3 and 4 jobs and missing out on what it is to actually not only be in an office from 9 to 5, but to be in the theater and really experience what it is to work in this theater, because they were busy having to pay for rent. So we want to make sure that there was at least sort of, what New York State considers the cost of living, so that they could just have this one thing working in this one area for the 12 months and really be able to immerse themselves and really be able to get as much out of the experience as possible, so that on the back end of the experience, they're ready to work.
I love that. Well, like I said, you have a wonderful website too, and anybody who wants to get involved, for more information, go to Black Theater RE, the theater THEATRE coalition.org. That's blacktheatercoalition.org. It's a wonderful website. It's a wonderful organization. You started, because I go back between ER and RE when I do theater or whatever else. So I want to make sure that people can get there.
Thank you.
Broadway debuts are really special. You made yours. They only happen once. They're very magical. You made yours in Kiss Me Kate, opposite the late great Marin Mazzie, and of course Brian Stokes Mitchell. How magical was your debut?
Again, it's so funny because I honestly I had been auditioning and I knew their names because I was such a fan already, but truly looking back on it now, to have had that experience, I mean, I wish that type of experience on everyone making their Broadway debut. I mean, not only did I get to work with the genius that was Michael Blakemore, and also that the choreography of Kathleen Marshall and all of those who are part of the show, including Roger Berlin, who's one of the great Broadway producers. But to be able to work with, share a stage with Stokes and with Marin, but also with Amy Spanger and Michael Buress and the entire cast, Paula Leggett Chase, who's always been like she's my show broad, and to learn from all of them, and not only about how to be an artist, but just how to be a human. I mean, Stokes would walk up and down those stairs at what was then the Martin Beck Theater to make sure everyone was okay, make sure that everyone was in a good place. I mean, like that type thing for me was always a telltale sign of a great leader and a great lead, that they're checking in on the rest of the cast, even with all that they have to do. But yeah, it was a magical experience in every way. I mean, with that show, I got to do my first Kennedy Center honors. Like all of these things happened because of that show and that group of people, and without a doubt, they have influenced who I am as an artist.
I love it. Well, we're just about out of time, but I have to give a big shout out. You have a really wonderful album called T. Oliver Reid, Do I Love You, on the Yellow Sound label, produced by the incredible Michael Kreuter. I just want to give a big shout out for that. I mean,
thank you. We love Michael.
How proud are you of that album, T?
You say that I'm very proud. It's one of those things that I never anticipated doing. When I first found my way into cabaret, Donald Smith, who's now passed, but was running the Mabel Mercer Foundation, said to me, "It's like, you need to make a recording," and that's all I needed to hear. So, and I had known Michael in years past, and my musical director Larry Yerman, and it honestly, when I tell you, we went down to Michael's studio, we recorded that album in one afternoon. We got everything. We ran through one full day, and it happened to be a day that there was an earthquake in New York City that day, and we felt the rumbling. But we got it done so quickly, and Michael's amazing. And again, I tend to love those songs. Some of those songs are a part of the show that will be at 54 Below, but there's just like the honor of being able to build a show and build songs and and reinvent songs, for me is like there's nothing better, and to have this you know what, hold on one second, and to have this album
you're good.
Thank you. But yeah, it's the experience is great. I look forward to as they call it, a sophomore recording. It's just, for me, it's always like figuring out what the next things are. The songs that I didn't put there that I really wanted to, and just things that speak to me now. And I think there will definitely be something from Hadestown or something of Aeneas Mitchell's that would be included in this. I mean, the idea of all of the things that make up who I am. So there's a little bit of country, a little bit of bluegrass, a lot of jazz, a lot of all these things. I feel like I'd want to do an album that encompasses all that.
Well, like I said, again, a big shout out to your producer, Michael Kreuter, the best. Yellow Sound label. The album's called T. Oliver Reid, Do I Love You, streaming everywhere. Like I said, once again, T. Oliver Reid is taking over the role of Hermes in the hit musical Hadestown. We're in his dressing room right now, and he'll be at Feinstein's 54 Below with his new show that Sunday, that summer, on July 24th at 7 p.m. Just go to Feinstein's 54 Below to get tickets. T, thanks for dropping by today.
Thank you for having me.
Always. Take care, everybody. We'll see you at the theater, maybe at Hadestown or maybe at 54 Below. Take care, everyone.